Okay. Hey, we're gonna get we're just gonna get stuck right in. Uh yeah. Well, first of all, eagle-eyed viewers may notice the inclusion of something new. Let's do a thing. Let's do come on, you know you can do it. Come on, get up there. Go. There we go. There we go. Oh. Okay. There we go. Top row. Top row fully visible now. Load oscilloscopy. All right. Yeah. So I brought the Mankato filter from home. Also on Headphone Quest 2024, these headphones work perfectly fine. They did have a bad cable for sure, and yeah, something goofy. So I've got it plugged directly into my mixer, and then I took actual control room outs into my little distribution amp down here. This little guy underneath, and this is an RGB mixer or an HDMI mixer. I only have my camera plugged in right now. The video synth is not even on. Probably not even going to use it today, so no big deal. So many emails. So many emails to delete. Yeah, so new filter. I moved a couple of the red utilities here down a row, and I moved these guys over chunk, which I think is a little bit better anyways. Yeah. So, official space, I have 8 in the 1U. I have 2 up here, and I have 4 here. Unfortunately, there's like a 1 and a 1, but I cannot get the loop to actually go all the way flush to the right. So that kind of loses a half of an HP. But that's, you know what? Who cares? Like, that's fine. And there's like 1 right here, too, which is stupid. So there's some other odd number HP module in this bottom row if we have a 1 left over. But my modular grid stuff in the title is totally up to date, including this move here. I'm going to finish pulling cables ferociously. I am considering replacing the wave transformer. It's a fine oscillator. It's just, I don't know, man. It just kind of doesn't do much for me. I've mentioned it before. I really want to get a Castor and Pollux too. I think that would be a lot more up my alley. And of course, it's completely unavailable because why wouldn't it be? Yeah, sure. Winter Bloom modular is probably like 6 people in a house somewhere going, how do we fill all these orders? So, at some point they will exist. They will not be vaporware, and that will be a good thing. Let's yank cables, yanking cables, yanking cables. Where did you go? Oh, you were just a random sloths. Okay, you're gone then. Hashtag random sloths. randomsax.gov. It's my favorite website. Order a random government issued saxophone for fun and mystery. Okay, get 2 more. 2 more. I just want to do some smaller voices, just some basic stuff, and show off maybe some of the filters that I have in here. And so yeah, today's going to be sort of a short stream, but that's, sometimes you have that. All right, so let's fire up a melodizer here. Let's get it to play like a nice C major 7 chord. That might be fun with a D. like so. And then like 16th notes would be good. And then we'll turn on the loopage. Okay, so we're going to need an envelope. So we'll take gate out to a Zadar channel. Now, I need to set up kind of a default setting and then actually save shit instead of like every time recreating from scratch. Basic analog oscillator, but I want to have a large cable so that I can go to any oscillator. So let's start with my most basic oscillator. So this is the STG Sound Labs .VCO. Okay, it's a pretty basic VCO. It has one input for control and stuff. It doesn't have an FM input, but it does have a sync input. And it also has a built-in drift generator, which you can access via CV. Otherwise, it's got saw, triangle, and square outs. Okay. Also by STG Sound Labs is this guy. This is the Mankato filter. It's maybe my favorite filter. It has a lot of outputs, and that cable won't reach. Boo! Boo this cable! Yeah, so I'm just going to play with stuff. So the cool thing about the Mankato is you have 6 dB, 12, 18, and 24 dB per octave low-pass filters. And then you have the opposite phase of those. Okay, so you can do some funky stuff. You can also use it as an octature LFO, because if you crank up the resonance, it self-resonates, and so you get this nice, super low sine wave, you know, doing its thing. And if you crank the frequency down far enough, then they just become LFOs, and now you have a bevy of LFOs to play with, which is pretty cool. I've only used it for that a time or two, because of course they're all locked into the main frequency. They're not like, it's not like you have 8 different LFOs with 8 different frequencies. They are all the same. Now that's without an envelope, but it's got just a really potent, crunchy sound to it. And then, of course, we have 3 CV ins, which is wonderful, but one of them has a pot. I suppose we might as well get an official clock going here. Let's do like a nice cool 92 BPM. Hey, Jason. Now then, we also have resonance, and that's at 0. Here it is at a third. Two-thirds. And it's this big chonky knob that's just so satisfying. And then all the way, all of the resonance here. Have some resonance. Have some ear-shattering horror. Okay, sorry, that was too much resonance. That was too much, right? That was too much. Was that too much? I don't know. I think it was kind of perfect, frankly. No, that was too much. Clearly, that was too much resonance. Okay. So that's the Mankato. Now, here's the thing, though. Again, it's basically like multiple filters in one, right? So this is the 24 dB. Let's go to the 6. A lot more high end. And then here's the 12. So you can really hear that pretty clearly. Here's the 6 again. Lot more buzz, lot more buzzy. And then the 12. And then here's the 18. And to me, that brings in a little, like a low mid-range warmth that wasn't there as much before. It sounds really, really nice. It's actually maybe my favorite. Here's the 24 dB. It's all like bass. And because it's got multiple inputs, well, then you can do cool stuff like, let's throw a square wave in there. New. It's just a really, really, really powerful output signal on that thing. And that makes me happy because, you know, it doesn't have a gain knob, and usually that's like a, you know, Lichtenberg, what's up? Yeah, usually like no gain knob equals moogly unhappy. But the thing is amazing, and it looks cool too. It's like this big chonky knob. Oh yeah. Oh. What was that? Yeah. Well, I'm also happy that my headphones work. That is a beautiful thing, and we need to tweak some gain things. I know somebody mentioned last time that the Rhodes was really quiet, and like that's an easy fix, but I need to kind of go through and gain stage some stuff, and then I think I'm going to set up my System 8 behind me, because frankly, it's just sitting there, not being used, feeling sad, feeling neglected, and I don't blame it for one bit. So I thought, hey, let's just kind of go through a few of these things and listen to the different filter signatures on each one of these. So this is the Doepfer A121S. So this is a 12 dB per octave filter. But it's lovely, and you can hear the stereo. You can do multiple. So this is the Delta FM. So and then obviously you can also do some wild stuff. So for example, let's say we were using the Mankato crank up res. If we use the Mankato as a frequency variance. Yeah, okay, so filters. So filters come in sort of multiple brandings, right? What was the confusing one to me for a long time was when they talk about 6-pole or 2-pole or 3-pole or 4-pole filters. Those correspond to every 6 decibels per octave. Okay, so a 4-pole filter is the same as a 24 dB per octave filter. Okay, what that means is that an octave is when your frequency doubles, right? So that means, like, if I played a C and my frequency or my level was at, like, minus 6 dB signal level. If I went down 1 octave, okay, it's going to be higher. Okay, it's going to be 12 dB higher, basically, for each octave along the roll-off curve of your filter. Okay, so and essentially what it means is that a 24 dB is like a really steep chunk roll-off. A 12 dB is a much more gradual roll-off. And because it's more gradual over here, you're looking at more high frequencies present in your final signal. Okay, 6 dB is even gentler. The neutron filter will do like 48, and that's just like chunk. That's like almost a shelf. Not quite, but almost. It'll do 36 and 48 dB. If you run the two sides sequentially. So, yeah, I don't think 11 even exists. I've only seen multiples of 6. 6, 12, 18, 24, and then, like I say, 36, 48. Those are not uncommon, but usually they get those by running 2 filters sequentially. So if you take 2 18 dB filters and you configure them in a certain way, then you have a 36 dB filter, right? Essentially, you're filtering the filter. And so you're giving it even more of a sharp cutoff curve at the end. Okay, I'm trying to make like a little frequency chart here. You got to use your mind a little, right? So 12 dB is common, and if you look at your vintage instruments and stuff, and you like, hey, what does a TB303 have? That one's actually, I think that's people argue about that still. I always heard that it was an 18 dB per octave filter. Now, and then some people say it's 24. I don't know if it's 24. I'll be honest. A lot of Roland stuff was 12 dB or 18 dB. Hey, Synchrotron. And frontman Tom Servo. So, yeah, right now we've got this guy, but it is being... Okay, now we can also put this in the FM and then turn it into an auto panner. Huh? Hopefully you have headphones on right now, because now you're tweaking out. So, lots of fun. Lots of fun. And that's essentially using the resonance in the Mankato as an LFO. So, yeah, I keep seeing stuff about the Collide 4. Man, it's really big, for one thing. I mean, I don't know. It would be nice to have everything. It would be nice to have a lot of stuff. But, you know, one can't. Let's flip this to the SEM20 ST. This is a really, really weird bird right here, man. This filter is a little bit strange. So this has the front end of a SEM filter. Except the envelope is not plugged in. That needs to go here. It also has an offset frequency. But then he takes the back end, the resonance section of an MS-20 filter, right? And adds that in. Yeah, Lichtenberg. I've been tempted to pick one of those up since they came out. They just look really, really fascinating. And like weird also, which I'm all in favor of weird. Oh yeah, I wanted to check this last time I was here and I forgot. What kind of batteries is this thing? Is this one of these stupid flashlights that takes like 3 AAAs crammed into a little enclosure? Yup, sure enough. Oh, you suck. I want like an 18650 that I can just charge and it'll stay charged for like a year. You know? I mean, it's an okay flashlight. If the batteries aren't dead. So, this is a weird one, I will say. So if I crank the resonance up... it's really nice. So the one thing I don't like about that particular filter, I mean, it sounds really good. I don't think it has enough input gain, frankly. Some of my weaker oscillators that like need a good boost, it's a little lacking. But when you crank the resonance up, you also crank up the gain. It can be really good. It can be really acid too. The only weird thing is the frequency or the CV. There's one per side for the frequency CV. Okay. And then the ones on the bottom are resonance CV, but they are per channel. So one for the left side, one for the right side. So now if I plug that LFO in, what you end up with is one side popping up and down. While the other side's doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, oh, I have 2 channels, right? So here it is, though, without any resonance. And now we have to crank the input gain. Hey, Crickets. Yeah, long time no see, man. Good to have you back. Yeah, so today was all about just farting around with some filters and oscillator combos, right? That's literally it. I'm not going to do a whole huge long thing composing music and things like that. I've already been here for a while. I fixed my headphone problems, thankfully. I got this little AKG headphone amp, and I really wish it had like an input gain light, even if it was like a 3-segment LED, that'd be nice. But it's not. It was like the most expensive one too. It was like $120. And AKG makes good shit, but like, guys, come on. I can deal with the whole no power switch thing because honestly, in terms of like professional music gear, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't have power switches. My headphone problems were weird. When I plug these headphones, these are Sennheiser HD598s, okay? When I plug them into my headphone amp, there's almost no sound in the right ear. When I plugged in my Focal headphones, they were okay, but they have like no bass. So I'm like, oh, these must have a bad cable or a bad driver. I replaced the cable. I took them home. They work perfectly fine. And they did have a bad cable. There was a real crackly connection in there. So I subbed out the cable for them. And now instead of bringing the headphone out into this headphone distributor, I have control room outs going to this thing instead, which is essentially the same thing. It's got main outs, control room outs, and headphone outs. And now I'm plugging in directly into the headphone jack on my mixer. And it's totally fine now. So I don't get it. Like, how does the signal change going from that to this, and then it only does it on one pair of headphones? What? You know, like, that literally makes no sense. Anyways, it's gone. It's done. We're on to new and better things here. So, okay, let's switch oscillators. Let's flip some stuff around here, and I do want to make sure that we get to the E490 also. I think. Should we use the Demon Core? Yeah, I can use the Demon Core. That's fine. It's already rigged up in the vector, so it's a pretty simple thing to just go part 8, boink, there. Let's put ourselves in C major and be all super duper lame. And take off any chords that we may have. And then give us a C. So the Demon Core is super duper digital, right? It is a polyphonic oscillator, and it only does super saws. That's it, right? So what you can do then is like change like the input of like how many voices it's going to allocate and stuff. And so like if I just want a monophonic voice, let's give it 2 just in case. It does have a built-in ADSR envelope, which is cool. It's also triggerable via MIDI. So this is just a MIDI. This is a TRS cable, right? It's just a simple little stereo 1/8-inch cable going directly to the vector, which has a TRS MIDI out. One connection, and you get not only the gate and stuff, but you also, obviously, you get the volt per octave signal and stuff as well. It's really slick. The Dimension, the Z-Cal Dimension, has the exact same configuration. It's got the same exact thing, right? So what we can also do, though, because the Demon Core has a separate gate out. So when it senses a gate, it puts out a gate also. Which is like, you know, real nice, Clark. It's real nice. So, yeah, man. What is my streaming software? Just OBS. OBS and then, like, lots of hardware. Lots of hardware. I have the video synth here, and then I have the, well, you can't see it. It's off camera. Oops. Oh, no. Oh, no. And this is a hardware HDMI mixer, and then HD60S capture. Yeah, I used Streamlabs. Streamlabs is just a front end for OBS. So it's still OBS. It's maybe a little bit easier to understand. I mean, I've been dealing with OBS for a long time, and it is easier and better. Like, kind of like VLC. Like, good job, guys. Good job. Anyways, Demon Core. Let's do a quick part on the Demon Core here. You know what? Let's reset this thing, because that's going to make life easier. Let's bring everything down to C3 to start. And then I can kind of make... So we'll be like gate, 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 gate. Oops. Gate, 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 gate. All the gates. Not all the gates, though. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Boom. Boom, boom. 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 Do it. Do the roar. Bro. 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 There you go. I'm like, why you no play? You are getting a clock signal. You silly, silly bastard, you. Let's see. Why do I like the Demon Core? Well, all the things that I've mentioned. What I don't like about it, it's not stereo output. That's really unfortunate, to be completely honest. Because I think a stereo output would be pretty freaking spectacular. We do need an input, though. That would be helpful. Son of a... Of course, it's not long. Because why would it be? Yeah, so single mono output. And then we'll go into this guy. And then maybe turn the mixer on. So this is all the way up. Too low. Okay, now this is like the most basic level. Let's slow this down. Now we can, of course, we can change the envelope. But then when we add in the spread, and we enable multiple voices, so now it's playing eight waves at the same time. Yeah, there's 16 total possible in the Demon Core. Now, without that, you do have 4 volt per octave ins. So you can do some really nifty shit with that, I'll tell you. Having 4 independent volt per octave signals that are all, like, quantized, and you're just, like, creating magical, mystical chords and harmonies and stuff is a really, really, really fun thing to do. That plus the SIG is, like... instant cool. Yeah. Yeah, the crickets. The other thing that I did was I got this skiff. This is a 197 HP skiff. And so I outboarded my melodicers and all my mixing. I added another 4 mixer channels, threw a few other things in here. The Bloom was in the top row. Pam's and the SIG were in the bottom row here. Same with this. The kick-ain was at home. I wasn't even using it. So, yeah, you do need the expander. That is in the expander. The downside of this, aside from it not having stereo outs, is, well, $1,000, maybe MSRP. Yeah, I got mine used for $550 for both. I've been pretty lucky with getting used stuff. I will say that my second chainsaw I just put in, I think 175, which is okay. I think it's 289 list, but just unavailable. It's like unobtainium right now. So, like to find one of those for $100 off of MSRP and existent is a beautiful thing. But see, here's the thing though, because this thing is polyphonic, right? Let's just play some chords. Major chords for everyone. Now I'm thinking because this is a mono in, or output, let's just take a mono out of the Mankato and see. Let's not have the resonance up all the way because that would be insane. And then this will be our envelope control. This is one thing I wanted to try today. Oh, that's just frickin' gorgeous. And it is a ladder filter, so you notice it took a lot of the bass out when I added resonance. And it comes back. But this in like the 6 dB. Kind of weak. Okay. How about the 18? 18's like my favorite. It's like a good mid ground. Why are we not using a clocked delay right now? I don't know. It's way quieter. There we go. Drive that sea legs. Yeah, I've thought about getting a stonk joystick. Yeah. Well, we can also make these into major 7th chords. Which is beautiful. Bump down the light a little bit. Probably a little bit easier to see. Contrast is goofball. Yeah, it's as low as she go. Okay. Yeah. So, cool, right? Cool. Cool, bro. Cool, bro. Now, of course, if you're dealing with supercritical synthesizers, why not use the supercritical neutron filter? This one, I mean, this would take like an entire episode on its own, to be honest. Because it's got so many emulations and stuff. And it's got all the gain in the world, which is great. Like, if I hold this, I get an extra 20 dB, and then you get into some overdrive funky territory. You can hear it right away. It's like crunch. It's got a stereo knob, panning and frequency variance, and of course FM. All right, Synchrotron, take it easy, man. Thanks for coming by. Yes, the neutron flux, yes. What happens if we push the gen button on this? Let's find out. And then there's the evolve button also. Now this is just one filter type. And each one you've got 6, 12, 18, or 24 dB. Let's evolve that again. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah. So that thing is super, 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 super cool, right? Along with that particular filter is something like the Z-Kyle Dimension, I think, is also a decent match for it. Now, the Dimension is another one that's fully digital. This is a wavetable oscillator. And right now, it doesn't have any parts going to it. So I think just to make life easier, I'm just going to swap out the two cables. Now, one thing that I hate about this thing is that it doesn't retain tuning from one setup to the next. It's really dumb that way. And it seems like it's just not playing at all now. Don't understand. Oh, I think it's because this guy needs to be in here. This is part 8. But we're switching it to part 7. Or no? Or no. Nothing is working? Okay. What? Oh no, it's working. It's just not putting out much signal. There it is. There we go. Same thing, built-in envelope. Plus, you're a lot of different. So, like when you go in here, there's a lot of like different navigations that you can do. In terms of like, okay, we can change the wavetable completely to some really goofy things. It takes serum wavetables also, which is sort of neat, I guess. So that's like sine folding. So you can like advance through the wavetable normally, and then you can also apply different like mutators basically to it, warp as they call it. For me, I just have wavefold, but you can do distortion, you can do sync. If we do distortion, then we basically end up with a square wave. So distortion's kind of cool. Bits. Bits is a bit crusher and sort of a de-resolutionizer. It's pretty wild, and you can select the number of bits on it and stuff. Sync envelope. Again, keep in mind, this is just one wavetable. PWM, so you can just do... squish things. Mirror. Mirror is pretty cool. Rubber. Just stretches. So we can turn our sine wave into a sawtooth. Like so. And of course, you do have a number of voices, and then you have a unison mode, which is very cool. So if I do like 4-voice unison, and then we... detune is off now. And then it's got spread. So if you have headphones on, you can hear like, whoa, instantly that totally changed things. Crank the spread up. And we get those other voices kind of like blending in with the original. And then when you crank the mix up, it starts adding in octaves. Which is really nice. So there it is without. Let's evolve this again. Yeah, and then of course we do also have a built-in VCA or a built-in filter. Now, I would say the filter is pretty weak. It's not very good. But the VCA is fine. I mean, it's a VCA with an envelope, ADSR envelope. And you can take one of the hot buttons here, the A, B, and C. You can configure that so that it'll always affect like the cutoff of the envelope or the decay time and stuff. So that's a fun one too, as opposed to like the Cloud Terrarium, which is I think much better at like glassy sounds. This one's a little bit better. Well, first of all, it's polyphonic, so right away, you know, use case is really different. You know, you can do some pretty wild stuff with it, playing chords and things, and then flexing the wavetable around and doing funky stuff with it like that. I'm gonna hook up the warp core real quick, I think, for the last one here. And this also has a stereo out. The warp core is a funny case. It's something that really kind of encourages. Oh no, I need those guys plugged in. It encourages you to play with all of the controls. I will say, like sometimes certain controls you don't use much, but man, they do a lot of stuff. So, like, good example, there's a windowing switch. So when it's off, and then you have a sawtooth and you have a triangle wave. And what it basically does is it sort of forces... So here's what you're doing, right? You're running the basic triangle core through these warp algorithms. Here's one. Actually, let me go fully open filter here and not so much gain, so it's a little bit... So then when we turn this warp up, okay, but then if we window this into a triangle wave or a sawtooth wave, now if we window it into a triangle, it's much smoother because now we've taken out that initial bite of that triangle wave kind of thing, right? You have an FM pre and an FM post, so pre or post warp. So if we do post, the FM amount is right here. It's wild. And then pre, not massively different, right? But we also have two warps. And then each one can be applied differently. So you've got 8 warp algorithms, right? 2 at once. And then all these other things. Yeah. So like a massive amount of variety with all of those things. And I mean this just barely scratches the surface of this oscillator. It is absolutely, you know, a huge sound. Um, let's get the other one going here. This guy, go away. We don't want you here anymore. We don't serve your kind. You're droids. I said I would get to the E490, and I almost forgot. So here's the E490. And then we push the distortion button. Oh, it was already on. Sorry. Resonance. And then if we throw in an envelope. It's got 3 CV ins. One is FM in, and that has an attenuverter. One is 2/3 octave, and one is full volt per octave. This is in the 2/3 octave range, and this is a full 10 volt signal, so it's not doing much. Until you turn the bass frequency up just a little bit. Alright? And the full volt per octave does a lot more. But you can hear the clicks and the pops. So it's really different. And then if we push the distortion button, you can hear it, little crunch. And then the resonance. Well, the resonance is insane. Why is it called the 490 filter? Is because it's based on a Moog 904 filter. He just flipped the numbers around a little bit. It's true. I did want to try one thing on this thing today, and that is to ping the filter. So pinging basically means you're just throwing a little tiny, like an envelope at it, and we need to hook that up, keep that hooked up. And I thought, you know, it would be better thing for that would be to just like hook up the SIG and give it like a treg out and see if that does the trick. Now I'm not sure if you put this in the volt per octave. I'm assuming. So we're gonna go like 16th notes and 8th notes, and then we turn up resonance. Yeah. And that's how you get your kick drums and stuff. Okay, buddy, you need to shut up. There you go. Hey, Jazz. I'm almost done, unfortunately. But thanks for coming. So, could we make this into just like a quarter note flat kick drum? Yes. Yes, we can. Okay, and then if we change the decay time. Or if we just put that in the volt per octave in. Or the 2/3. So, you know, kind of wild. I mean, it self-resonates like a mother. Like, listen to this thing. Dogs and cats howling in terror. Yeah. Dude, those Tomita albums, man, it's my piano teacher's fault. He switched on Bach for me when I was about 11 years old, 11, 12 years old, and then like Tomita and stuff. And you look at the records, you know, back in the day, and I had him on LP, and he's got his whole System 100 behind him, and it's just like, oh, that looks so cool. That got me started, I'm telling you. So this is not bad for a kick drum. Now I'm also curious, does the cinnamon do the same thing? Because the cinnamon is a brutal little filter, and it is entirely possible that we can get some disgusting sounds out of it. But does it self-resonate? I don't know if it does. I don't think it does. Okay. What if I turn up the resonance switch, which turns the resonance into this, like, psycho axe murderer that's going to murder your face? See, nothing. So without anything in the input gain, it's not doing anything at all, which is really unfortunate. Like, guys, you missed a trick on that one. The Mankato, will that do it? I'll bet it will. Yeah, but it sounds weird. There's the 18 and the 12. Funky. You can hear it's got some internal clipping. It's got some, like, overdrive. But it definitely does the job. So that's cool. Yeah, not every single filter will respond to a ping, unfortunately. I kind of wish they did. That'd be cool. Does this guy? I don't know if this one does or not. Yes, it does. In fact, that's really, really smooth. Yeah, I wonder if I took the cinnamon and I took the low pass out, and then this is the FM. Yeah. But I'm not hearing it self-resonate at all. Like, it's not giving me the howl that it normally would. But what if we took the CV out and threw it into the input? Just to give it something to, like, process. Yeah, see, I didn't think so. Yeah, well, I can't stream Friday, unfortunately. So I thought I needed to probably cram something in, and I'm still working on my setup here, and you know, trying to get things going. So, yeah, so it's kind of interesting, like, which one of these will actually ping and make kick drums and interesting sounds? Will this guy? I think it will. I'm guessing it will, the 860. So basically crank resonance up all the way, right? Yeah, but it's really, really quiet. Oh, it's on high pass. So will it self-resonate? Or self-oscillate? Yeah, it does. Super quiet, though. Very, very, very quiet. Shouldn't be that quiet, you'd think. This little IntelliGel 1U VCF. Hey, Francisco. Same thing. And then if we go CV, FM. Yeah, this thing pings like a little, yeah. Yes. I'm sending a small envelope into the FM in and just cranking up the resonance all the way. So there's like that perfect point where it starts to respond. And of course, we put this in the pitch instead of the FM. So it's going to be extreme. And we don't have any control over it at that point, so you'd want it in the FM input. The Zagreb, I don't think will ping. I don't believe it self-resonates. Yeah, it does not. Or self-oscillates. I keep getting the term wrong. Because I'm dumb. You see? The carry, I think, will self-resonate. Oscillate. God damn it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it will. Yeah, the carry will do that, and then it'll eat your face for dinner. Now you notice this is kind of, you hear it's different, it's varying. So this has a built-in envelope follower. Okay, and it's trying to vary the filter frequency. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's trying to do weird stuff. Spread control. It's changing the frequency in the left and right, but I'm only giving it a single output right now, so there's no left and right. So yeah, the carry works really good for that. What else do we got? Will the SEM self-oscillate? I think it does. Yeah, not very much though. It's not super hot. So that probably won't work. I think the dope for will. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So we put that in the CFM. Well, I would say this, like filters are not just they don't just process audio, right? You can also use a filter as a slew limiter. You know, they're a multi-purpose kind of thing. So like kind of getting to know that is kind of a big deal, you know? Like here, I'll show you that really quick, just for shits and giggles. Because it is kind of cool. All right, so if I take my volt per octave from a melodizer here, I'm going to run that into a filter. Okay, that's the volt per octave signal, right? And then I'm going to take that output and run it into an oscillator. And then we'll just run the oscillator straight and not put it into another filter. Okay. So now when this changes notes, as it should be doing, okay, so I've turned my filter all the way up, and now if I turn it down, you hear? Yeah, the Q of a filter specifically is, that's annoying. The Q is the peak at the cutoff. So if I do my little graph from before, and we look at the cutoff, like boom, there it goes. Right at the tip of that shelf, there's going to be a peak when you turn up resonance. Now, depending on how high that peak goes, depending on the architecture of the filter, you can get it so high that it will just produce its own waveform, right? Which is usually a sine wave or a triangle wave, depending on the sound of it. Like, depending on depends on a lot of things. Architecture, internal VCA designs, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the fact that you can use a filter as a slew limiter is really neat. So like without, and it's just flipping all over. And then if we turn this down to about half, you can hear it's doing like a glide. So if you have an extra filter, you also have a slew limiter. You've got both. Which is nice, which is kind of cool. Now, what's also really, really wild is when you have a slew limiter, then you also have a filter, right? So, like, example would be the stochastic function generator. You can switch each of these channels to be a slew limiter. Now, they're really, really tweaky. I'm not even going to try getting it to work. I've tried it a couple times, and it's like super kludgy, and it didn't super work very well. But it works in a pinch, I have a time-compensated glide, which is a slew limiter, basically. Okay, final experiment. We got to do one more. Give me an oscillator, even VCO, sure, why not? Okay, and we're going to run the output, the audio output of that, into that glide, and we'll see if it explodes. Okay, you guys are in the way, and I hate that. Okay, so in is here. I turn this down all the way, and then out is here, and we'll go into mixer again. So there it is. Now, again, turning up the time. You notice? It's actually a high-pass filter. And I've now transformed my wave into a square wave. It's interesting. So, yeah. Not quite. But yeah, filters will work as that, and they'll do a pretty good job. Especially if it's just a good old mono filter from wherever. So, anywho, hey, I'm going to call it for the evening, and just like leave it there. Do things. And again, no stream Friday, unfortunately. But I Sunday faux show because, well, Sundays are standard days. So, anyways, thanks for joining me on this quick little jaunt into the realm of filters. And yeah,